Hello and welcome to the Virtual Midwife Podcast. I'm your host, Karen Wilmot, and I help you to get the right type of information during pregnancy so that by the time your baby is ready to be born, you feel confident that you've done everything you can to prepare, even if right now you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and uncertain. I work mainly, but not exclusively, with expats because I understand the challenges of navigating a foreign healthcare system, because I spent so many years working in the Middle East, but also because being virtual means that I'm never more than an email, a phone call, or even a WhatsApp away. There's nothing that gives you more reassurance than having your midwife available 24/7 to answer your questions as they arise, to reassure you about things like spotting or any niggly aches and pains, and to signpost you to get the best care and resources wherever you are during your pregnancy. And that's exactly what I do. It's been a long break since I finished off season 2, and during that time I have moved back to Cape Town, South Africa. And last week when I was unpacking my boxes, I found all my pregnancy books and decided that for season 3, rather than interviewing people around the world and talking about pregnancy and birth, I was going to do a series of book reviews. And I'm starting with my absolute favorite book, or one of my favorites. It's hard to actually choose, but one of the favorites is Birthing from Within, written by Pam England, who is a midwife, and Rob Horowitz, who is a psychologist. This book is described as an extraordinary approach to childbirth preparation, and that is exactly what it is. You will find information in this book that is not typical of a book about preparing for childbirth. And more than that, you're going to find lots of exercises and processes that guide you to discover and validate your own knowledge rather than just directing a whole stream of information and facts at you. The whole approach is about guiding you to prepare literally for birthing from within, with the understanding that the purpose of any preparation is to prepare you to give birth in awareness rather than trying to achieve a specific birth outcome like a vaginal delivery or a C-section. The stories, anecdotes, and even the exercises that you will find in this book will mobilize your own coping resources that are really so critical to be able to acknowledge and accept that there are sometimes unexpected and even unwelcome events that might happen during your labor. And I'm going to start off this review by reading to you a bit from chapter 1 called Finding Your Question. A journalism student once asked me, "Is there one thing a woman should know before going into labor? What would you say it would be?" I mulled this question over for a while. In the past, women knew what had to be done, and with a mixture of fear, power, and surrender, they did it. Giving birth was part of their normal lives. Only now are women drawn off course by exotic choices, which books to read, what to believe, which tests to accept or decline, where to give birth, with whom, to flee from pain or not, and finally, which interventions, if any, would be right for them. So after contemplating the journalist's question, I finally responded. For each woman, the most important thing she needs to know will be different. I would encourage a mother to ask herself, what is it I need to know to give birth? Her answer must be found within, not given to her by an expert. Each mother needs to find her personal, heartfelt question. The journalist wasn't sure she understood what I meant, so I asked her, when you were expecting, what was it that you needed to know to give birth? She thought for a moment and smiled as she remembered. My question was, am I strong enough to give birth? That's what I worried about. It's what I had to look into before I felt ready to give birth. And I did use that question to help me to prepare mentally. Other mothers wonder things like, what kind of mother will I be? Can I ask for help if I need it? Can I trust my body and my judgment? So knowing your personal question is central to birth preparation. Whatever your birth question is, leave no stone unturned. Ask your question often and look at it from every angle until your conscious mind is exhausted and your heart is receptive to answers. Don't limit yourself to a superficial question like, what should I expect if? Or if someone else can answer your question, you're probably not going deep enough. The answer will not come through intellectual pursuit, and nor will you find it in a book. Books can tell you about birth, but not about you. As you work through the chapters of this book, you will be guided to find your question and to explore your personal and cultural beliefs about labor pain, Unlike other books like Hypnobirthing that try and move away from the concept of pain and try to and make you think of it more of as a sensation, in Birthing from Within, the pain is not sugar-coated, but rather described as the pain and power of birth, with the understanding that pain and stress of a normal labor are part of what keeps this natural process on track. And you will learn more about understanding what the pain of labor is all about and how you're going to manage it. You'll learn the difference between feeling pain and suffering. And the pain coping techniques that you learn in this book are intended to help you eliminate any needless physical or even emotional suffering that might otherwise be experienced during labor, and to practice mastering these techniques throughout your pregnancy so that by the time you get into labor, the skill becomes natural for you and you'll just do it with more concentration and motivation. Practicing the pain coping techniques that you learn in this book creates an empowering ritual of preparation, which is absorbed by your subconscious mind. And when your conscious mind is swept away by the intensity of labor, and sometimes even the exhaustion that you feel in labor, you know that your subconscious resources will be there for you. You'll learn 3 very important perspectives about pain that you might not previously have considered, such as learning how your attitudes and beliefs influence the extent of what you experience during your labor, by mobilizing any environmental and emotional support to make the whole process easier for you, and by practicing those pain coping techniques throughout your pregnancy. You'll also learn that normal labor pain doesn't need to actually be fixed because it's a healthy signal or a healthy sensation that signals that your baby is coming and almost helps it to arrive. It is also a choice of how you choose to cope with that pain. And another thing that I really love about this book is how she describes the compassionate use of medical pain relief options. There are so many exercises in this book that will help you to explore your beliefs and attitudes about pain, help you to expand your pain tolerance, and find your ideal response to uncomfortable situations. That if you are going to read this book, I highly encourage you to start reading it early on in your pregnancy so that you have plenty of time to really play around with these exercises, to do them with your partner, to do them with friends or within a group, and to really have fun with all of these things, because that's exactly how it should be. Everyone has a dream, a fantasy, or even a fear about what your birth will look like. And one of the things that you will be encouraged to do through this book is to use birth art to explore those beliefs and expectations of your birth. And regardless of whether you think that you're creative or arty, I encourage you to do these, whether it's through drawing, painting, sculpting, or even writing, or just doodling. She gives plenty of examples of how to do it and to let go of any expectations of making a perfect picture or writing a perfect story, but just rather allowing images to speak to you truthfully and eloquently, allowing them to surface when you're not trying to make them happen. Using images, art, a symbol, and color are powerful tools in helping you to transcend any limiting images of birth or seeing birth as just a medical or physiological event. There's a lot of use of metaphor, which invites you to think of labor and birth in a fresh and a new way, and that in itself creates an opportunity for personal awareness. Understanding that when you are giving birth, you're not at your birth, you're in your birth. You're in labor, you might be in a trance, you're in that zone, you're in your body, you're in pain or you're in joy. And using birth art is an opportunity to explore the images that you might have about giving birth from that inner perspective. And I will just read one of the exercises that you could do to give you an idea of what you could be doing to explore these, is to make a drawing that depicts your fantasy of labor and birth. It could be realistic or completely imaginary. It may express the physical, spiritual, or emotional aspects of birth. Or to imagine your birth as a landscape. It could be water, earth, sky, desert, or something else. But imagine what the weather's like. What and who would you like to be with on your journey through that landscape of labor? And just allowing your imagination to run wild and put down on paper whatever it is that you see, feel, and emote and think about when you sit down in a moment of quiet meditation to allow your mind to explore what it is that you hold about birth. Unlike a childbirth class where you're sitting there and passively learning stuff, reading through this book and doing the exercises is an opportunity to become active, to allow your creativity to flow, and to shift from that teacher knowing to rather a mother knowing or even inner knowing of what it is. And those realizations that come from making birth art can influence the depth of knowing that you arrive at through making and exploring those beliefs and expectations of your birth. Every aspect of what is normally covered in a traditional childbirth class is covered in this book, but it's done in a way that makes it really relevant by bringing in stories from other women, anecdotes from around the world, and even sharing many rituals and customs from around the world about birth that just give you a different perspective and take it from being all about you to understanding that every day, every moment, there is a woman giving birth, and you're joining that tribe of women who are creating and growing a baby and becoming parents, becoming mothers. Even if this is the only book you end up reading to prepare for your own birth, it would be enough. Each chapter takes you on a beautiful journey through the art of birthing, through preparing your birthplace, being powerful in birth, talking about fathers and birth companions, teaching you about birthing through pain, and ending off with how to gestate your parenthood, baby-proofing your marriage, and preserving your birth memories. It's balanced, it's informative, it's entertaining, and it's relevant. Reading this book will guide you to see your birth as an adventure, as a life event, and as a rite of passage as it should be. So, my lovelies, that was my review of Birthing from Within. And in next week's podcast, I'm going to be reviewing the book Childbirth Without Fear by Grantley Dick Reed. This book was first published in 1933, and it's special because it was written by a doctor so many years ago who was brave enough to go against what other doctors were doing and to talk about childbirth from a woman's perspective. So I'm really looking forward to sharing those insights with you. If you are newly pregnant, then please sign up for my free video series, which you will find on my website, thevirtualmidwife.com. And if you would like to work with me as your personal virtual midwife, then the best way is to book a call so that we can chat about when your baby is due and set about making a clear plan of action about what you need to do between now and then and how I can help you to get there.